Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready for a deep dive into a wine region you might not expect. Today we're talking all about the unexpected world of Peruvian wine.
That's right. And while most folks associate Peru with pisco,
You're so right. Honestly,
the country actually has a long and fascinating history of winemaking
I was going to say.
that often gets overlooked.
Before we really dug into the research for this one, pisco sours were pretty much all that came to mind when I thought of Peruvian drinks. So tell me, where does this hidden history of wine even begin?
Well, we have to go back centuries, even before the Spanish conquistadors arrived in South America.
Wow, really?
Yeah, our sources show that ancient civilizations in Peru were already cultivating grapes
Wow.
and likely producing some form of wine long before European influence.
So we're talking winemaking traditions that are rooted in pre-Columbian history.
Exactly.
That's incredible. I'm already picturing these ancient cultures tending vines with the Andes Mountains in the background.
And then, of course, the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century brought a whole new dimension to Peruvian viticulture.
Right, because they brought over their own traditions.
Exactly. They introduced European grape varietals like Vitis vinifera and brought their own techniques for winemaking.
It's fascinating how these historical threads intertwine and influence what we taste today. So you have these ancient traditions merging with colonial influences, and it all comes together to shape what Peruvian wine is today.
Precisely. And speaking of shaping influences, we can't forget about Peru's unique terroir, the environmental factors like soil, climate, and terrain that influence a wine's characteristics. Now, when you think of ideal wine regions, a desert landscape might not be the first thing that springs to mind.
It's so true. You don't exactly picture a desert when you think of those classic images of rolling vineyards in places like France or Italy.
Exactly. Yet, one of Peru's most prominent wine regions is Ica, located in the southern coastal desert.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's an area that receives less than an inch of rain annually.
Wow, an inch of rain a year.
That's Ica.
That's wild. But okay, if there's practically no rainfall, how do they manage to grow anything there, let alone grapes?
That's where it gets really interesting. Ica, much like some other successful wine regions around the world, relies heavily on irrigation. They've developed sophisticated systems to channel water from the Andes Mountains down to those thirsty vineyards.
So they've adapted and found a way to thrive in this challenging environment. I'm starting to see why Peruvian wine is so special. It's a testament to resilience and ingenuity.
Absolutely. And speaking of unique characteristics, we have to talk about the grape that truly sets Peruvian wine apart, the Quebranta grape.
Okay, Quebranta. I'm intrigued. I have to admit, I've honestly never even heard of it before. What's so special about this grape?
That's not surprising. It's a true hidden gem of the wine world. Quebranta is a black grape varietal native to Peru, and it's known for its thick skin and high tannins. It's actually the primary grape used in pisco production.
Hold on, wait a minute. The same grape that's used in pisco is also used to make wine.
You got it.
That's incredible. It's like a tale of two drinks with a shared heritage.
Exactly. And while it's celebrated for its role in pisco, Quebranta also shines as a single varietal wine, producing bold reds with intense fruit flavors and a slightly spacey finish.
You're making me want to try this. So it's not all about Quebranta, is it? Our research mentioned other grapes as well, right?
You're right. Peru's viticultural landscape is more diverse than you might think. While Quebranta holds a special place, you'll also find other intriguing grapes thriving in their vineyards. For instance, there's Albilla, a white grape variety that produces aromatic wines with notes of citrus and green apple. And then there's Borgoña,
Borgoña.
which, despite its name,
Okay.
isn't actually Pinot Noir.
Oh, really?
It's a type of mission grape that was brought over by the Spanish centuries ago.
It's interesting. I didn't realize mission grapes were so prevalent in South America. It just goes to show how much history is packed into every bottle.
Exactly, and we're just scratching the surface. You'll also come across international varieties like Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc, and Merlot.
Right.
But they take on a uniquely Peruvian character due to that terroir.
So even those familiar grapes offer a taste of something different, something unique
Right.
because of that Peruvian context. I'm starting to get a real sense of the diversity here.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating blend of indigenous grapes, Spanish heritage varieties, and international favorites, all expressing themselves in new and exciting ways.
This is making me think about food pairings. Peruvian cuisine is having a moment right now, and I can only imagine how well these wines must complement those bold flavors.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the magic really happens. Right.
Imagine pairing A classic ceviche,
Okay.
with its bright citrus notes and spicy kick, with a crisp albilla wine. The acidity of the wine cuts through the richness of the seafood,
Yeah.
while the citrus flavors complement each other beautifully.
That sounds amazing. See, this is why I love exploring new wine regions. It opens up a whole world of culinary possibilities.
Yeah.
What about something a little heartier, though, like a lomo saltado? What would you pair with that?
For a dish like lomo saltado, with its savory soy sauce marinade and stir-fried vegetables,
Yeah.
you'd want something with a bit more body. A Peruvian Cabernet Sauvignon with its ripe tannins and dark fruit flavors
Okay.
would be a fantastic choice.
Oh.
Or for something a bit bolder, you could even try with a tannet, which often has that spicy, peppery character
All right.
that would complement the dish beautifully. Now you're making me hungry. And speaking of Peruvian culture, one of our sources mentioned pachamanca, this ancient cooking method
Yeah.
that involves using hot stones buried in the earth. Have you ever heard of this?
Yes, it's an incredible tradition.
That's so...
And it speaks to that deep connection between Peruvian people, their food, and the land itself.
Yeah.
It's very similar in philosophy to how they approach winemaking, with a deep respect for tradition and a desire to work in harmony with nature.
I love that. It's not just about the grapes or the fermentation process. It's about this whole cultural experience rooted in tradition and a sense of place.
Exactly. It's about terroir in the broadest sense, encompassing not just the physical environment,
Right.
but also the human element, the history and the traditions that have been passed down through generations.
Speaking of traditions, I'm curious about the wineries themselves. We read about some fascinating ones, like the Kama, which has been around for over 150 years.
Tacama is a legend. Founded in 1859, it's considered the oldest winery in South America. They have these incredible vineyards in the Ica Valley and are known for producing some of Peru's finest wines, especially their Chardonnay, which consistently wins international awards.
Wow, a multi-generational legacy of winemaking. That's impressive. I'm also curious about some of the smaller, lesser-known wineries.
Mm.
Any hidden gems that we should know about?
Oh, absolutely. One that captured my attention is Viña Carollo.
Okay.
They've been around since the 1920s, and they're known for their commitment to sustainable practices and their focus on reviving ancient varietals. They even have a vineyard dedicated to experimenting with pre-Columbian grapes.
That's incredible. It's like they're bringing the past back to life, one grape at a time. This might sound like kind of a silly question, but do they have wine tourism in Peru?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, Viña Carollo is a great example. They offer a complete enotourism experience with tours of their vineyards and cellars, tastings,
Oh, wow.
and even a restaurant where you can pair their wines with delicious Peruvian cuisine.
Oh, that sounds like an amazing trip for wine lovers.
Yeah.
Are there any wine festivals or events that we should put on our radar, something that really celebrates Peruvian wine culture?
You're in luck. Every March, the city of Ica hosts the International Harvest Festival, a multi-day celebration of all things wine. There's music, dancing, traditional food, and of course, plenty of opportunities to sample the region's finest vintages.
That sounds like a blast. Okay, so we've explored the history, the grapes, the food, the wineries, even the festivals. What's next for Peruvian wine?
That's a great question. From what I've gathered, the future of Peruvian wine is brimming with potential. They're at this exciting intersection where ancient traditions meet modern innovation.
I'm picking up on a but here.
Not a but so much as an and. While there's a lot of enthusiasm and potential,
Right.
they're also facing challenges. Climate change is a major concern, as it is for wine regions all over the world. The delicate balance of their irrigation systems could be disrupted by shifting weather patterns. But what's heartening is that Peruvian winemakers are very aware of these challenges and are actively working to address them. They're investing in sustainable practices, researching drought-resistant grape varieties, and exploring new viticultural techniques to adapt to a changing climate.
It's really inspiring to hear about their dedication to sustainability. They're facing the future head-on with this amazing mix of respect for their heritage and a willingness to adapt and evolve.
Exactly. That innovative spirit is a big part of what makes me so optimistic about the future of Peruvian wine. They're not content to rest on their laurels. They're constantly experimenting, pushing boundaries, always searching for ways to improve.
It's like they're writing the next chapter in this story that's been unfolding for centuries, which is really cool to see. You know, when we started this deep dive, I honestly had no idea what to expect. I knew so little about Peruvian wine.
Right.
And now I'm just blown away by the history, the diversity, the sheer passion that goes into every bottle.
It really is a hidden gem, isn't it? And I think that's a big part of what makes it so exciting to explore. There's this real sense of discovery, of uncovering something truly special that the rest of the world hasn't quite caught on to yet.
And maybe that's the beauty of these deep dives, right?
Mhm.
It's not just about learning a bunch of facts, but about opening ourselves up to new experiences, new
Uh-huh.
flavors, new perspectives. It's about expanding our horizons one sip at a time.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe our listeners are feeling inspired to seek out a bottle of Peruvian wine themselves, to take a chance on something new and unexpected.
I hope so. And if you do, we'd love to hear about your own Peruvian wine discoveries.
Hmm.
What surprised you? What did you love? Share your thoughts. Tag us on social media, and let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, cheers to venturing beyond the familiar and embracing the unexpected.